Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Given it's just now the top of the hour, we will give folks a few more minutes to jump in. In the meantime, if you want to drop in where you're calling in from, that'd be great. My name is Alex McMullen with the Assembled team and joining from San Francisco. But go ahead and drop into the chat.
Nice. Also, for people waking up, I'd be curious to hear what they're eating for breakfast. Or if you're in Europe, what you're going to eat for dinner.
Or breakfast tomorrow.
Or breakfast tomorrow. The good thing about breakfast is that you can really eat it for any meal. Like breakfast for dinner is one of my favorites.
So what was your breakfast, Bobby?
Not to rub it in. I ate breakfast at work today. We have like a breakfast buffet every morning. And so I had some like sunny side up eggs, some tomatoes, and like a bagel and orange juice.
Ooh.
A nice hearty Wednesday breakfast.
Sounds great. I've been to the Intercom office. You guys do have a good breakfast.
Lots of good reasons to come to work, but into the office, but free food is a good one.
Yeah.
How about you?
I am like a overnight oats guy. Got into that habit and find it easy.
Is that like oatmeal?
Yeah, like you let it soak overnight and then it's like you eat it cold, which is, some people are into. It works for me.
Yeah. Nice.
Chris, tall glass of water for breakfast. All right. Kicking the day off with some hydration.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Better than downing a bunch of coffee and then just being too jazzed all day.
Wouldn't know anything about that. All right. We're going to give people a few more minutes. Topic is where you're calling in from, what you had for breakfast. All right. Austin, Texas, coffee. Love it.
Nice. All right. Dude, coffee representing here. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Mandy had a nice, solid breakfast.
That's a good one, Mandy. I like that. Yeah. Some yogurt, granola. Well, breakfast bar, TJ is always good.
Ooh, that is good. Protein. All right. Jazz, protein shake. Nice and also healthy.
Gym for breakfast, then coffee. All right. That's
way to go, Abe.
Yeah.
Hashtag life goals. I barely rolled out of bed today.
And we'll give everyone just another minute or so. Get started probably 9:04 here on the West Coast. Question is where you're located, what you had for breakfast. I want to drop that in the chat. All right. Jess, that doesn't surprise me. That sounds healthy and appropriate for you. So.
Nice.
All right, let's go ahead and kick off. We got a little quorum here. We're 4 minutes past the hour, so we'll jump right in. We'd love to start with just some quick intros for the two folks you see on the screen in front of you. So, Bobby, why don't I hand it off to you? Tell us where you're calling in from, your role, and what you're doing here today.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Super great to meet you all virtually. I'm Bobby Stapleton. I'm the Senior Director of Human Support here at Intercom, which maybe sounds like a weird title, but what it means is that I spend most of my time for any of our customer cases that aren't solved by our Fin AI agent. They land with one of our 100 humans, making sure that our customers and that team have a great experience. So yeah, I've been here a little over 6.5 years, and I recently moved my life and my cat over to Dublin to be based here at our headquarters in Dublin. So everyone here drinks tea. They're really missing out on the coffee. That's a whole other conversation, though. So how about you, Alex? A little intro.
Yeah, so Alex McMullen, been with Assembled for about a year now, part of our sales organization here, based in San Francisco Bay Area. So just get my morning going. I was telling Bobby, overnight oats for me has been my habit recently, and yeah, appreciate everyone joining today. Just some quick housekeeping: we are recording, so we can send out the recording afterwards. Bobby and I will spend the next 20-30 minutes going through some of our takeaways on their awesome Intercom Pioneer event recently, Fin AI, and some of the AI that's shaken up the support world. And then we'd love to hear from you all. So we'll open it up for Q&A. And so jot those questions down along the way. We got Bree from our team at Assembled here moderating as well. So if you have any questions or issues that you're having, you can ping her on the side. But feel free to drop questions in that question area down in the bottom right. All right. So what are we doing here today? Why are Intercom and Assembled on a great together? We are strong partners, and part of that is that Assembled sits on top of platforms like Intercom to ingest all of their ticket data, conversations, and help teams make sense of what's going on for understanding the demand they're likely to anticipate at a given time and supply the right number of agents in the right seats in the right roles. On top of that, Intercom is a customer of Assembled, and so utilize us for their workforce management. So Bobby's very, very familiar from that aspect. And so as we continue to deepen this partnership, we just went over across the pond. Bobby did the shorter flight from Dublin to London for Intercom Pioneer, and Intercom launched Fin 2 with much accolades and just a smashing success. And so we want to take some time to share what we learned there, where we think about that's going to impact the support world in the near future, and share some of those thoughts. So, Bobby, would love to hear a little bit of your takeaway on Pioneer and maybe a little bit about Intercom and Assembled and how we work with your team.
Yeah. As Alex said, we are also Assembled users. So those 100 teammates I mentioned earlier, how making sure that we have them staffed at the right time at the right place. We do all that with Assembled. And so it was great to have you all with us in London at the Pioneer event. And I threw a couple of slides together instead of just like everybody hearing me listen and talking about this. And I promise I won't go on for too long just because we're here now. But Pioneer was our first customer event that we've done big customer that we've done in a long time. So we hosted it in London. We had hundreds of our own customers there in person and thousands of customers streaming in live from around the world. And it was just a really cool event to be able to talk about how we at Intercom are thinking about and anticipating the future of AI across technology and across customer service. And as well as hearing directly from our customers. We had a running stage, like hearing from some of our customers on how they're using this technology, because I'm obviously biased. I can sit here and talk about it all day, and there's nothing better than hearing customers use it firsthand. And then lastly, we had some cool speakers that come and talk as well, which was a lot of fun. So, and really the big technology that we were talking about at Pioneer was our new product, Fin 2, which is building upon our AI agent, what was formerly known as chatbot, but those are kind of the crummy, crappy versions of chatbot. And so those are almost like the dial-up version of the internet versus now the 5G, really good version. It's these AI agents. And so we were launching Fin 2, which is our new and improved AI agent, which again, it does a bunch of different things. We'll talk more about that probably at some point during this call, but really again, talking about this advance in the technology, whether that's seeing it happen across multiple different channels, seeing it to be able to go deeper across, lots of different knowledge sources, understanding all the different types of behaviors, going deep on actions and specifically doing things for your customers. And then of course, having this wide array of insights. So again, this is all new, just a whole new world. This is all new stuff. And so we being able to announce this and again, talk about it live with customers was just a blast. So And then, I like this. Is this lame that I'm like showing this picture of myself? This is like, again, we got to go through and interview customers. That's like Natalie from their clothing company called Newly. And then you see the photo down at the bottom, just like all of our customers there in person. So loads of fun, and glad to be here today to like, again, keep this conversation going virtually with you all and like around some of this technology.
Well, having been there, not lame at all, Bobby. That was a great session you did, so appreciate that. And yeah, the whole event was just super, super cool. That space, the topics, the speakers. So kudos to the team there. Would love to hear, as you all think about Fin2 and AI, what are you most excited about as a support leader? And then what are you most excited about as an Intercom employee? So maybe let's tackle the first one first. You as a support leader, what do you?
Yeah.
I know you're on the human side, but what are you most excited about AI doing for the support world?
Yeah, I feel like this was a big theme at Pioneer, but I continue to be most excited just about like the story and the pace and the impact that we're seeing of AI on customer service. We think back to when OpenAI like launched ChatGPT to the world, a couple years ago now at this point. And I think everybody was like, oh, like that's interesting. And then there were other like companies out there like, hey, we've kind of been in this large language model space. But just to see the application of this new technology over the past couple years and to see that growth is just like so cool. And one of the stats that we shared is that like across all of our customers that are using our AI agent, like the average resolution rate is like 51%. So it's like this really high amount of workload that customer support teams are able to get help with, again, which is great for the customers, great for the support teams, and great for these companies. And so, yeah, to just like see that journey and to think about where it's going. And I don't know, the stuff that I thought would take like, oh, that's going to be like a year or two from now. It's like, no, that's happening today. And so getting to like sit there and strategize and talk to support leaders about that was really awesome. And then lastly, I think from an Intercom employee side, like just being in real life with customers, we spend all day chatting with folks in Intercom, like in our help desk product. So that's over email and chat. We jump on some phone calls here and there, but to get to be real life, share some coffee, share a beer, and like, yeah, it's really awesome. Just like have the world be coming together again. And so spending time with customers was definitely my favorite part, and with partners too, like yourself, but definitely the customers. How about you? Would love to hear. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think some like the ideation and brainstorming stuff is so fun right now because it's this wet ball of clay for everyone of like, how is this going to work? How is it going to impact? So yeah. Sitting down and talking with people and what they're doing is really cool.
The great way. Yeah. Nobody has the answers right now. If they claim to have the answers, be a little skeptical. But that's the fun part that we're all kind of figuring it out together. So how about you? Like you said, you and the Assembled team were at the event. Would love to hear like your thoughts or any themes that kind of stood out to you all.
Yeah, I mean, number one, that event was awesome. I think I already bought my plane ticket for next year. Excited to go back. So just kudos to the Intercom team. Great speakers, good variety of topics, awesome space. That little courtyard out there was cool. So if you didn't get a chance to attend this year, make sure this is one of the top ones that you're asking for budget for next year, because it's worth the trip, even from San Francisco to London, for a quick one. And then on top of that, like it also really struck me, how early Intercom jumped on AI. It seems like it was just the strategic decision, C-suite down, to make this move, and that gave you a really a big leg up on what you all have been working on, how you've gotten there. I love the chart, and I think you had it in one of your pictures of the resolution rate over time, getting to that 51%. And then I think the 99.9% accuracy, that seems like a pretty good number to me. So kudos to you all on like where you've been. And it sounds like, again, what struck me was the rigorous testing that's still going on of how you continue to improve on that, how you keep setting the bar higher, whether that's the analysis of OpenAI versus Claude and Anthropic and which one's going to support your use case better for Intercom and for your customers. So was just super impressed by how long you all have been working on it and the continued rigor to just keep improving to stay ahead of the competition out there.
Yeah, and like this is not me trying to sales pitch people on this call, but what I find so compelling, and I feel like there's like some comparisons between Intercom and Assembled, is that like whenever I'm talking to support leaders, there's often this desire to be like, well, like this is just like this is just like, a customer service bot like in a wrapper, and like we can build this ourselves, or like you're the same as everything else that's out there. And people probably have the same want to have the same tendencies, maybe like with this setup, but they're like, well, like I can do workforce management in a spreadsheet, or I can do it with these other things. And it's like, it's like you can try, but it's not really the case. Like there's a benefit to having part of your tech stack, people that are like spending weeks and weeks and lots of time focused specifically on these problems for customer service leaders, and building technology that's going to like be designed to take that on. And it's like you can try to go do it yourself, but like it's going to be a long uphill battle. So worth considering people that are thinking about it full picture.
Yeah. So, Bobby, with the big announcement for Fin 2 during Pioneer, could you break down what makes Fin 2 really stand out from other AI agents currently on the market? I think you were just getting into that a little bit, but would love to dig in there deeper.
Yeah, so some of the main features that we were talking about at Pioneer, and again, there's this like, it can be easy, and I understand the skepticism for anybody who's on this call, or people that like are getting the millions of emails from technology vendors that like they have an AI agent that they're trying to sell them. And just to think that, is this just all smoke and mirrors? And so really when we were talking about Fin 2, what we were really trying to emphasize and tell a story is that like, these are real numbers. Like we're not just cherry picking them. We're not just like talking about like, oh, this happens, but only if you hire, you spend $100,000 on an implementation team to get it up and going. Like that's not what Fin 2 is about. Fin 2 is really focused on like kind of these 4 big areas, really designed to offer the type of a support that's like something your human support team, aka like my area, can be proud of. Something that like can do a lot of the same work that like a frontline teammate would normally have to do, and is then going to free up your humans to go do some more like deeper, more complex work. And so the 4 main areas for Fin 2 is like, 1, just like very deep, going deep across your knowledge. So being able to pull from whether that's like your help center, whether that's from other content sources, being able to have that knowledge be across any sort of different channel. That's something that our competitors are still, again, trying to catch up to. Secondly, it's just around like behaviors. Again, like people want to be able to use this technology. Like, hey, Bobby, I here can help us out, but we want to make sure like it's not going to go completely rogue or like say this thing incorrectly. And so being able to have some table stakes features like tone of voice, multilingual, as well as like some deeper functionality around like being able to give it guidance. If you hear these types of keywords, we want you to follow this protocol. That's again just like being able to give it that guidance. Actions is a big one. This is, again, blows my mind. If you were to ask me a year ago, I'd been like, no, that's like 5 years out. But being able to have an AI agent talk to your different systems and either like pull, being able to read from that to bring in information for that customer, as well as to be able to like do actions. So like processing a refund or pulling the query from a database like uniquely for that customer, taking some of those actions, whether that's like solving the whole case in that way or again getting the troubleshooting process started, really powerful. And then lastly, having all that backed by insights. And so, we'll probably chat about it more, but like the old days of having to rely on your customers to fill out a survey to know, did they get a good experience or not? Like those days are gone. Like we now have the technology to be able to say like, how was the entire customer experience across all of your caseload? Where like looking at all these things, like where did we not actually solve their problems, whether that's with an AI agent or with a human, so then be able to go do something about it. Where is our content failing, or like what parts of the business do we need to improve? All of that with AI insights is all connected as part of Fin 2. And again, it's just like giving this, your support leaders what they need. And so and then lastly, this came out after Pioneer, but now Fin 2, like we previously, that was something you had to like be on the Intercom platform to use. Now that's also like available. If we know moving your entire support team to a new tool can be a big project. And so we now have Fin2 across all platforms. So whether that's, using Fin2 with Zendesk or Fin2 with Salesforce, I would still vote for Fin2 with Intercom. You can have that functionality. And so again, it's like a way to go and get that help. And being able to do that without a ton of setup, being able to do that and have it actually work is like some of the stuff that we find is like big differentiators versus other AI agents out there on the market.
Yeah, cool. That all definitely resonates. I tend to learn really well from stories. Any good customer stories where you've seen Fin2 start to already make an impact?
Yeah, and so I briefly showed the photo earlier of Natalie. She's this support team leader over at Newly. They're, again, clothing rental company. So it was super fun being up on stage with her. And we were just talking a bit about like their Fin setup. They have it branded because you can change the branding to be what you want. They have the branding to be what's called like Chat Cat. And as a cat owner, I have a big orange tabby. I love that it was like they had this own branding, Chat Cat, but she talked a bit about how the impact that it had on the customer experience. Like it was able to give these like immediate first response times. It was able to drive up their overall CSAT to a 95%, which was an uptick from 89%. She shared that they have like a 38% resolution rate. And like with that resolution rate, it was able to reduce the number of headcount that they needed. Their companies like skyrocketing and had a 40% reduction in headcount growth. And so, yes, that can be good from cost savings, but like what we spent a lot of time talking about was like just the benefit that can have on the existing humans. Like we were, I love all the people that are running giant call centers, but like being able to like have like a small but mighty support team, like that can be a lot of fun. You can be a lot more agile. You can be able to like work more closely with product. You can try and experiment with new things. So not only the cost savings, but to then have just the impact that it had on the existing teammates and like that teammate culture was like, I thought a really smart takeaway from her. So, and again, just like a great example of the many stories of Fin. So yeah, I thought that was great. And again, like kind of off of this thread here of like, whether you're thinking about team size and having, all that goes into that, I want to throw it back at you. Like, obviously workforce management like plays a super big critical role in like making all these like AI solutions work effectively. And you and Assembled are in this unique spot of being able to think about like staffing challenges that teams are going to face when adopting something like, an AI agent like Fin2. So yeah, I would love to hear like, what are some of the things like you and Assembled are thinking about when it comes to that?
Yeah, one of the interesting things is with workforce management and Assembled in particular, putting the right people in the right place at the right time, and maybe pulling back on that, putting the right resources in the right place at the right time, is what we've always done. And so companies, whether they're shifting people in real time because of different volume than what the forecast was predicting, shifting people to the right channels to answer questions and maybe move between chat and phone or different product lines if they're cross-trained, is something we've always done in the workforce management world. Or even the idea of pushing over or pulling back from your BPO if you're outsourcing some of your support. Yeah. So it's not that different in that way of the idea of just using AI as another resource. If you have an AI agent, okay, let's maybe shift more there or less there, depending on what's happening in real time. And so that's how we see companies thinking a lot about it is, depending on quality and resolution rates and all that, are we willing to make a shift during a really busy time, whether that was traditionally to an outsourced BPO or now to an AI agent, and or volumes are lower and now we've got time to put our people onto more impactful work. So similar to what you were talking about of like, how do we make our knowledge center better? I think that's something that plagues almost every organization I talk to. If they're going to connect into AI, they need to first really make sure that knowledge base is strong. And so using their best people, their support agents, during slower times to do that and put them on that, staff them on that instead. So that's how we see WFM really playing a role in this, is understanding where to allocate at different times, depending on what your forecast looks like, and then also what the real-time situation ends up being.
And to throw this at you, one of our co-founders, Des, he talked about how it's like this technology isn't what's the phrase? Like, it's not a problem and it's not a solution in search of a problem. It's like, these are problems that have faced customer support teams forever. It's like, again, how can we have faster response times, coverage, get help? When you and the Assembled team think about it, do you feel like does this like kind of change the core way that y'all think about workforce management? Or do you feel like those kind of fundamentals, those principles are the same as they've always been for you guys?
I think a lot of the fundamentals are still very much there. It's allocating the right people into the right spot. Where we've seen changes is there's lots of testing going on right now. So I think people are running multiple pilots or experiments to understand where they can go apply AI. And then I think the other big thing, and you mentioned this earlier, is like what capacity planning looks like, what longer term planning looks like, what's our headcount going to be? Will we need to continue to grow linearly with how we have in the past, or can we slow some of the hiring, even though the company is continuing to grow? So I think that's where companies are really trying to figure out is like, what's that 6-month, 12-month, 18-month, because it is happening fast. What's that plan look like, and how can we stay agile enough to adjust to that? Ultimately, we still believe, and I'd imagine, given your role, like humans are always going to have a part in support, and so whether it's more back office work, whether it's handling more complexity, whether it's handling folks that just don't interact well for whatever reason with an AI chatbot, giving people that opportunity to interact with the humans. And often that's going to mean the more complex, the harder tickets. And so how do you also create the environment in which they've got more bandwidth, they've got more time, they've got a little bit more flexibility to handle those sorts of things, because it's not just handling a lot of the easy, repetitive tickets that they may be used to.
Yeah. And that's well said, and such a good takeaway for anybody like listening in who's either like kind of scared themselves about this technology and like what it means for them and their team, or B, like they're excited about it, but trying to figure out how to go position it to their wider teams or to their executive staff. Like you said, it's like, it's enabling all these things versus just like, there's this replacement for humans. So that's smart. On that like kind of scheduling and forecasting side, like have you seen AI impact like staffing models, like particularly like in terms of forecasting or scheduling or omni-channel support?
Not in a major way yet. Again, I think there's a lot of pilots being run. There's a lot of testing happening. We have not seen that shift happen quite yet, but I think a lot of folks are starting to think about like, how soon is that coming? And so people are starting to see a lot of early success. They're, in a lot of cases, they want to condense some of their planning. So maybe not doing 3 years or 2 years out, but doing 6 to 12 months out, and making sure they still have the flexibility to pivot once they actually reach those milestones and along the way. And so no major changes that we've seen, but it's, it's on everyone's mind we talk to.
That's interesting. It's a whole new world. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Bobby, as you think about, Intercom making a big investment into AI and AI first for customer service, like what do you see as the trends and the innovations and the future? Would love to get a look into your crystal ball.
Yeah. I mean, as mentioned at the top, like there's some headlines out there. They're like, is AI just a fad? And it's like, we definitely don't think so. Like you think about these big technology moments, and AI, it's like definitely bigger than mobile, probably like as big, if not bigger than the internet. And so just really trying to like take in the gravity of that and not like have our head in the sand on it. We have like the vast majority of our company working on like our Fin AI agent product, and wanting to just make sure that like as customer support like transitions to a world where this is going to be such a big majority part of the customer experience, making sure that like we're there and ready for that. So that definitely comes to mind. And then like I think secondly too, it's like we launched Fin 1 and it was great. We were like years ahead of all our competitors, but we then, like, from talking with customers, realized like we need to have these additional tools to go along with it. So whether that's like, again, the tools that it takes to have a really strong like knowledge center, knowledge management strategy, having good content. I think, like you said, you could go talk to any support leader, and it's always been something like, well, I know I need to work on that, and then you never get around to it. But it's like, now this is what's like feeding the beast, feeding that AI machine. So like you have to prioritize it, and like how can we build tools and products to make that easier for support teams? Same on the AI insight side. Like it can be really scary to set this live to customers if you can't understand how it's doing, or it can take a lot of overhead and work if you can't get the insights into what content needs improvements, where the gaps are. So building out these additional pieces that will then allow customers to get it involved in more of their interactions and then improve the resolution across that involvement is really kind of like what we're thinking about. And then again, I'm repeating myself, but then just trying to do all of this like with hand in hand with customers. We spend a lot of time thinking about it, but we don't have all the answers. And so talking with customers, seeing what they're doing to get these results, trying to get that like on our blogs or talking about it here, so that, the whole support kind of community, we can figure it out together. So that's a little bit about us, but we'd love to hear, like, how about you guys? Like, what are you and the Assembled team kind of focused on for next year?
Yeah. So for internally, like some of the things we're really excited about, the idea of where AI can play into get kind of more proactive or suggestive, and what people should do and how the forecasting may be impacted by AI trends and where things are going. So I think some like really cool ways to layer in some of the technology into the Assembled platform or workforce management in general. Some of the really cool things, I just being in San Francisco, we actually share a building with OpenAI right now. So we're one floor above them for one of their satellite offices. And you hear some of these things that are developing of like a lot of the voice technology, multi-language voice technology. So as a consumer, when I'm calling in, I'm really interested to see where that trend goes and how good it is. Because I've yelled at so many of those those classic branch logic voice ones where if you're in a noisy environment, you're out of luck. And so I'm just really excited to see how good those become in the near future and the longer term, and where they can go. Because I think some of the multilingual stuff is super fascinating. I think being able to talk in a way to a AI agent is really interesting. So it'll be cool to see where it goes. And then also like what consumer expectations are. Is getting an instant response to your email, does that feel good, or does that actually not feel as great? And so will companies have to create some human level to it to satisfy people? Especially maybe older generations or different generations, and what their expectations are in order to drive good customer service and high customer satisfaction.
Yeah, it's like all of the support metrics will look different. It's like, what is a good first response time? What's a good first response time for an AI agent? What's a good response time for humans? Like, how do you want to look at that holistically for your team? Same for CSAT. It's probably the same for some of the different like workforce management type metrics, like trying to get like what's a good handling time for an AI agent versus a human. How does that fit into your capacity plan? We're in I think we were telling your team about this earlier in the week. Like we're in the process for doing a capacity plan for next year, and it's like, okay, well, if we think our res rate is going to continue to go up, like what should we expect for our humans to do? Like we know the work's kind of getting harder, more complex as that happens. Do we think like productivity, can we keep it like flat? Should we be planning for it to go down? If it goes down, how do we like have to balance that with headcount, or like, just like people inboxing more, all that fun type of stuff. It's a whole new world. So.
Yeah. And does authentication on voice or phone number or all these things that sort of happen already, but maybe are going to get more depth to them. Like, does that feel good or does that not feel good to a consumer? So I'm just fascinated to see like where those trends go.
So true. Awesome.
Well, we also wanted to leave some time for Q&A. As you can see, Bobby's an expert in this world, tons of experience. And so whether questions for Intercom or Assembled or both, would love to open it up for some Q&A. So Bree, I don't know if we have any questions in the chat so far or in the questions channel, but if you do have questions, feel free to drop them in either of those areas. This time's for you. So what can we answer for y'all?
I like that I can see that someone's typing.
I know. Yeah.
Kudos for any questions getting submitted.
We'll send you whatever. We'll send you a Trader Joe's breakfast bar, Jed. With your
I do see one question from the DMs over in the questions tab here. So, how do you recommend teams weed out AI hype from reality when evaluating tools like Fin? Yeah, that's a good question, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, but I think a big one is taking the time to be like, okay, like show me this in action. Like anybody can put something on a website versus or like a demo video, but being able to like see it happen in action, ideally seeing it happen with some form of like your team's type of content. Again, this should be easy enough that like these demos should be able to like reference your content, to be able to ask you about your use case and like the type of workload that's coming to your team to then be able to help like talk about how this can impact your business, is like my first suggestion. And I think secondly, like specifically asking like, how hard is this to set up? Again, am I going to have to like need some whole separate other budget to get this like implemented and integrated with my tech stack? Because it's one thing to say like it does all these things, but what's all the back end work for that to happen? And then thirdly, yeah, asking like how does it fit into your existing platform? Because there's nothing worse for a customer experience than having to like these like siloed experiences and, to have your, chat be unsuccessful and then to start all over again in a ticket or start all over again in a phone call. So just making sure that's seamless bit. So that's my take, but Alex, curious what anything you would add to that one.
Yeah, I think that all resonates. And anyone that's not allowing you to do some sort of trial or testing or pilot right now, I think like it's a brave new world for all of us. And what is the value going to be? What should coming from the sales world? Like that's a huge thing. And we want to make sure you're getting value. We want to make sure we're pricing correctly for us and for you. And so like getting in there and testing and really getting some clarity and like what the impact and the outcomes are going to be, I think is hugely important.
And then, sorry, lastly, to add on to it too, I think like there's a bunch of features now that they're trying to sell you as like amazing, like as they're like table stakes at this point, something like, like a summary feature or, being able to have, if they're like, 10% res rate, like that's not good enough. So just, kind of do your research and make sure that the features that they're talking about are like kind of the next gen features versus the stuff that's been around for a year. That's like important for like your buying process, but I think more important to show like how in tune and like how heavily is this company actually investing in this technology versus just playing catch up because marketing told them that they had to.
Yeah. Ask for those roadmap conversations. Mm-hmm. And then Chris had a question around what kind of success have we seen with customers who've used both Intercom and Assembled? Also, have there been any lessons or mistakes with implementation? Bobby, why don't we start with how Intercom uses it as a customer? And then Chris, I'm dropping in a case study with TopStep as well. And so that is another customer that's on Intercom and Assembled. We've got a ton of case studies, thanks partially to Bree and our marketing team. But would love to chat with you more about, lessons learned, how the integration continues to get stronger and stronger as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to caveat that if the things that have not gone well are probably most of them are like my own team's fault. So yeah, we've had great success using Assembled. As mentioned, we have like 98 inboxing teammates between our like technical support specialists, technical support engineers, and that's across like 3 different offices for 24/7 coverage. And we want to run as like lean as possible. And so a big part of our capacity planning is making sure that like we are hitting like our occupancy targets, which again can sound very call centery, but it's an important part of like running a support team. That again, like are people in the queue when they're supposed to be in the queue. And like we have this occupancy target of 50, don't ping me, Brandon, my workforce manager, of like 57%. And so being able to use Assemble to say, like, again, are we doing that? And so we then we have these targets built into the capacity plan, but then week over week, there's all this stuff that we want to do, right? Like we want to help customers when it comes to like getting to our first response time. So we need people staffed out in the queues, as well as all the stuff that we need to do outside the inbox, like updating the knowledge base and knowledge content, like doing cool new trainings, being more consultative with customers. So maybe jumping out of the queue to go do something with the sales or success team. We're able to use Assemble for all of that. And then again, being able to like quickly and nimbly move those resources around while still understanding like what's needed for the demand that's coming in. So that's been really valuable and a big part of our operation. Mistakes that we've made, again, this is mostly like change management mistakes. Like, I don't know. It's like small stuff. Like we telling people that's like, hey, like, again, this isn't about us like change management. It's not about like me trying to like spy on you. Like, are you at your desk? It's like, we're like building a schedule so we have the people at the right time. And I think I underestimated how obvious that was to people. When in reality, it was like, hey, we need you like inboxing your scheduled inbox. We need you like marking yourself as like active. So we can tell that like you're active in the inbox. Like that's, just took time to build the behaviors, to build the guidelines around it. So that was one thing. And then I think the second part for us for implementation was just thinking about the different types of channels. So again, Bobby, rookie mistake. We like had set it up at first to like be like chat because we were doing stuff in our messenger, but most of our chats handled kind of async. And so it's actually more like email. So that was a bit of just like how to get it set up in Assembled across those different channels, what that meant for them, like forecast and handling time, and kind of getting some of that like in the weeds bit. But Assembled, they were great partners for that. I think Bob was their support team. So that's also something to kind of be thinking about.
Cool. Awesome to hear. And yeah, and I think so much of it is getting the data right, getting the flow right. Bobby, that reminds me a lot. Like I just hear so many teams shifting away from like our support agents are, it's not a call center. We don't need them in their seat looking at this. We want some autonomy. We want some flexibility that goes into some of the adherence and occupancy. But like it reminds me of a big customer of ours. It's got about 6,000 technical support engineers, and they were very used to a ton of autonomy and handle everything async. And when they introduced Assembled, there was a lot of that concern of like, is this about watching me? And it's not. It's like, this is about how you fit into the bigger, like you as a piece of the puzzle fit into the bigger picture. And if we're going to do forecasts, if we're going to build schedules, then we need you to adhere to those schedules so that we can understand if it's actually working. And so it's not about supervision or micromanagement. It's more about like, we're building this so we can handle our volume, and we got to be able to make sure folks are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and I know we got some other questions, but lastly, and I think part of it, again, this is on me, like doing a better job of, again, explaining the why behind it. It's like, if we don't get this type of insights, and especially in this new world with like AI agents being able to handle so much of the work, we might end up in a spot where like we have way too many people, and then all it takes is like somebody from finance to be like, why is the support team so big? Like when when their volume's only X, like cut it in half. And then like you don't have the data to be able to say like why you still need those teammates. Or on the inverse, like our workload, again, we have over half of our volume being handled by Finn, but the work that's coming through to humans, it's harder, it's more complex. It wasn't solved by Finn because like it was, nothing's documented, or it requires some like back end complex troubleshooting across multiple different tools. So like the work that's coming through is harder. And the only way that we can then like tell that story to say why maybe we need more people going to next year is if we have all of that like type of data that Assembled, can say. It's like, no, we can say hand over heart, like we were doing what we set out to do, and this is still like what we're seeing. So I know like capacity plan's not the like coolest thing to like everybody who's in the queues, but it's like this is important for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know we are right at time here. Corey, thanks for your question. Bree just dropped that in. We'll definitely pass it along to the product team. Jed, I saw your question about BPOs. Would love to chat more about that. We're a little short on time here. But yeah, would be happy to chat about how we're thinking about that, how we're seeing organizations handle that as well. So, well, Bobby, thank you so much. Hopefully you had as much fun as I did doing this, and already excited for Pioneer. What are we, 11 months, 10 and a half months out. So excited for that next year, and appreciate you joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Alex. Thank you again to everybody for dialing in. Sorry if I rambled on for too long. Please get in touch with both myself and Alex if you have any questions. We want to keep the conversation going. And thanks for the time this morning.
Yeah, I'm alex.mcmullen at assembledhq.com. So feel free to reach out. And Bobby, I don't know if you want to drop your email.
I am Bobby Stapleton at intercom.com. Or find me on LinkedIn. Whatever's easy.
Excellent.
Well, thanks, y'all.
All right,
appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.